Welcome to the How to Hero YouTube channel, where it's my job to awaken the hero within you. There's a hero within all of us. Today I wanted to do a little video on connecting with your higher self, and this is based on my experience. This is based on what I use to connect with my higher self and how things went for me. It's a very personal experience, and it's unique to everyone, depending on sort of where your strengths lay innately in your different clairs, like your clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairaudience, etc. Things will come in differently. You'll hear spirit or you'll hear source in different ways. So that's something to keep in mind. But I wanted to make this sort of practical, how I got in touch and how you can too. I guess first I'll explain what is your higher self. So what actually is your higher self, right? Your higher self is your future self. Actually, it's your future self in mid sixth density consciousness. This is where you've progressed. Your soul sort of progresses through the densities over a long span of time in the way that we perceive time as humans, and is then looking back upon the past incarnations. And I say incarnations because the higher self manages multiple incarnations simultaneously from a place of no time. And what they do is they are you. It's you looking back on yourself, progressing through the world and through the universe and creating your reality. And then they're the same way that when we're trying to polarize to the light, when we're trying to be of service to others, the higher self is trying to be of service to others, which is the other selves, their other incarnations, and trying to guide them along the path. And the way that the higher self guides, this is very important. The higher self doesn't guide by telling you what to do. Merely what they do is they point at things. They'll point at whatever it is. So they'll offer perspective. I shouldn't say they'll offer perspective. They'll offer an experience to you. And the experience will show in so many different ways. The experience will show in your external environment, and it will show in like your perception of your external environment. It will show within. It all depends on sort of how you're tuned to the energy and how you receive things. But all they'll ever do is say sort of, hey, look at that there. What do you think about that? Right? And it's kind of in your, that's how the growth happens, right? That's where the catalyst comes in, whether it's a sort of a positive catalyst or a negative catalyst, but whatever it is, situations arise, there's stimuli, there's something in the environment, like the environment is a reflection of your internal environment. So as within, so without, right? The higher self is monitoring everything that's going on with you and offering experience as catalyst for your growth. And it can be a catalyst on the physical plane, and it can be catalyst in the mind, and it can be catalyst in the spirit as well. So there's different offerings, you can call them, just offerings. Hey, try this out, test this out. And a lot of it is us having these experiences and then saying, yes, that's not for me, or that is for me. I desire this. I desire more of this. I enjoy this. And whatever we put our energy into, where our energy flows, where our awareness flows, energy flows, or vice versa, energy flows where our awareness flows, right? And it's essentially, it doesn't mean we don't look at when we have bad feelings. It means that we do look when we have bad feelings. When we have things that are making us feel bad, we investigate them more closely to understand what it is specifically that we don't want. And then we can from there start to course correct. And so I got a little bit off topic there. I got divested. No, that's not the word. Whatever. I got off topic there a little bit, but the way that we connect with our higher self is first understanding that it is us, right? So it is there. It's there. It's us. It's connecting to ourself, and the way that we really do that is through our hearts. I believe it's through our heart center. The energy comes in through the crown, but I believe it's all, when we're talking about our higher guidance, I believe that it all comes in through the heart. This is just my experience. There are probably people that argue differently. But I think that the heart is where most of it gets sort of really processed, and it's pretty subtle listening to your heart. and that's what I believe is the higher self, where the higher self really connects in. But the way that we get connected with them typically is by sitting still with ourselves, going to a place of meditation, sort of in quietness. The place in meditation can also happen for me. It's easier when I'm doing walks around in as much nature as I can get a hold of. I live in a suburb, right? So I don't necessarily get a lot, but there's a pond nearby and stuff that I visit. So anyways, not everybody can meditate and walk. That's something that's a skill, sort of, I guess. It comes with practice to maintain that level of presence while you're walking around and stuff like that. But I find that nature actually helps maintain the presence. So, the reason I'm saying this is because you can do it in so many different ways, but the point is to get into a state of oneness with yourself, align with yourself as best you can, by connecting in with your body and your breath, and connecting in with the energy in your body, feeling the energy as it goes into your hands and your arms, like feeling the insides of your hands, arms, and legs, and stuff like that, and feeling that energy in there, and then sort of going to a happy place is what I like to call it. So within, you build this special place that's in your mind. For me, it was like it's sort of like a waterfall thing. It's a pretty quiet pond, but a waterfall coming into it. And then there's these stones with all these different symbols. I don't know what the symbols are, but there's these symbols all over these stones in a circle. And then my etheric body is sitting in the center of these stones, which is like an outcropping or incropping, into the pond. So I'm sort of sitting in the middle of a pond, and there's forest all around me. And it's a beautiful place. It's very serene. It's like the perfect temperature. And there's a nice rustling of the water, and I can kind of smell the forest, and we bring all of our senses into it, to make it much more real for us. And it is real. Like, this is a place that you've built, right? This is what would be called a thought form. This is a place that as you feed it energy and as you build it, it'll become more and more structured and real within the etheric realms. And later on, you may be able to invite people there with you and have very interesting telepathic type experiences with that. But that's a more advanced thing that you'll do. But later on, that's down the road. I wouldn't recommend doing that until you sort of understand things better. I've been really working on magic practice, which I'm going to get into a little bit on the channel later on. So once you're in that space, you essentially start to put the request out for your higher self to visit you. And the most important thing here is your higher self can show in so many different ways here. Like, it could literally be the rustling of the wind of the leaves or something in the environment that you've built that's whispering sort of information to you. Or it could be another animal. Like, for me, when I very first time I saw my higher self, it presented to me as like a female deer, at the edge of the stream, or like the edge of the pond, from like behind me. And it was their introduction. They came in this safe sort of form and introduced themselves. And they had this little box with them and gave me a little gift, and it was a 4-leaf clover. And this was right before I realized about the druids and my connection with Merlin and stuff. So this was way before that. But it's important to accept without judgment whatever comes, and not try to go, oh, well, I wished my higher self would appear this way, or I have expectations for this or that. The point is to go into it with no expectation other than this intention to meet the higher self. You sit with the intention to meet the higher self, and then go into the meditation, and then ask for the higher self. And then you can start to ask questions, right? You can start to literally just say, what's in my highest and best good to focus on right now, or things like that. You want to phrase questions that are done that way, right? You don't want to say, should I do this or that? You're not going to get typically an answer. If you get an answer from your higher self, I would caution that it's probably not your higher self answering. That's your psyche or ego coming in, trying to implant, or it could be some sort of darkness attached to you, some sort of negative attachments, shadow attachment. That's manipulating your thoughts there. So I would caution that, but your higher self will merely point you towards the highest and best, but they're going to point you towards it in a way where you have to sort of figure it out yourself, because that's the whole point of the experience of being a human, is to figure it out yourself. That's the point of it. They're not going to give you the answers, so to speak. Think of them more like a teacher that's kind of, watching you complete the coursework, right? And if you have a question about the coursework, they're not going to give you the answer to the question. They're going to give you a perspective to look at that will lead you to your own answer. If they're teaching properly, otherwise they're, what are they doing? And that's sort of how it goes. And then by doing that, they actually learn, oh, okay, this type of catalyst often promotes this type of response, and they learn that type of stuff. So they learn how to properly guide their incarnations by guiding their incarnations. The same way that you learn how to operate your universe by operating your universe as creator. Their goal is to help you see and help you understand that you are everything that you need to be, that you're perfect, that you're a divine being having a multidimensional earthly experience as a human, and you're meant to be here. You're meant to experience all these things that you're experiencing, and you're meant to integrate and learn them at the time that is and pace that is perfect for you. And so you don't get pushed into things that you're not supposed to be able to handle, right? You don't get, your higher self doesn't push you towards all this catastrophe. Though catastrophe is a catalyst, right? And so if you're in a very negative situation, your higher self will want you to see your divinity. And so it may intervene and sort of have a divine intervention here where that negativity causes a tower moment, they would call it in the tarot, where everything just falls apart due to the cause and effect of your behavior, right? Of your action in the world. And these consequences, or cause and effect, is some of the Hermetic principles, which is it's all vibration. So if you're putting out all this negativity, you're going to start to draw more and more in until eventually the world sort of falls from under your feet. And the higher self is there the whole time watching you, trying to give you signs to go the other way, right? Trying to give you signs to say, here's catalyst, here's catalyst, here's catalyst, here's catalyst. Go the other way. If you want, but that's how they sort of do it. Go the other way if you want, please, right? They're rooting for you to go the other way, but at the same time, they're not really rooting for you to go the other way. They're understanding that it is your free will decision to make, and that whichever decision you make, they're proud of you for putting one foot forward and continuing. They unconditionally love you. So to say that they would prefer you to do one or the other thing isn't accurate. It's more like they're not wishing any ill upon you, right? It's the same way when you're teaching, almost like a kid, right? You say you have to teach them certain things before they go off to school. So you say, don't do this, because if you do, you're gonna hurt yourself. And then they go and they do that anyway and hurt themselves. And from that, hopefully they've learned a lesson. But if they didn't, they're probably going to do it a couple more times. And it's kind of like that with the higher self. It's not like you stop loving the child because they made a decision that you knew wasn't going to be in their best interest. You're actually, you can come to a place where you start to marvel at the process and marvel at the miracle of free will, in many ways, and how the other being goes and does the thing that you just told them is going to hurt them, and it's like that. It's more like that. But even then, it's so much more than that. It's more than a parental relationship. Like, they are you. You wouldn't be able to even feel all the love that they have for you because it would overload you. I told this story once before, but I asked for a smidgen. I wanted to understand how much my higher self loved me. Actually, I was talking to a guide at the time, and I was asking the guide how much they loved me, because I wanted to understand it. It wasn't like, how much do you love me? It was more like, I wanted to fathom what that felt like. And then they gave me just a burst of energy. I was crying. It put me like, it incapacitated me for a few minutes at least. And it at the end of it, I was like, holy shit. That's good. That's a lot. That's a lot. And then they were like, well, that's only like a percentage of infinite, right? It's a percentage of infinity, and you got about a few percent of that. And I was like, what? Like, so it really opened my eyes to understand the perspective, I guess, that the higher self and the spirit team, the light beings that are supporting you, where they're coming from with the love, and how much that fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional love actually is, how potent it is. Like, it is so potent. And that's why when you're watching some of the very enlightened, very present, high vibrational beings speak, it can be very calming and soothing and relaxing for you, because they hold this vibratory resonance. There's a name for it. Sorry, excuse me. There's a name for it that I can't think of right now. But when they're speaking, the whole room starts to resonate with that same vibratory frequency of the teacher, of the enlightened one that's trying to share. And so the whole room can really be uplifted, and the frequency raises. And it's those people that are in tune with the higher self. It's more like they've established almost a direct line. And that's where you can get to. So at first, when you first start this, you're going to have, it might be a little bit frustrating, especially if you're not experienced with meditation or visualization techniques. But as you practice more and more, that's the other thing too, is it improves meditation and visualization techniques. It actually will help you with all of your other energy work that you're going to do later. Because the more you get involved, the more energy comes in, and the more things that you start to do, and things start to activate different abilities, I guess. Different experiences start to come into play, and then you need to start to figure those out too. And so all of these foundational techniques help you set all the space for yourself to improve. You'll start to eventually get to a point where you can almost just have the conversation. And that's a great place to be. When I got there to that point, and I'm not always there. That's with me, I'm wavy. I haven't studied the boat, so to speak, or studied the ocean. I'm very up and down personally. And so I loop back pretty quick usually. So, but I go up and down and up and down and up and down. And it's because I'm trying to quickly course correct and learn the techniques. And I've had so much catalyst that I've had a lot to deal with. But when I'm in alignment, and when I'm up and vibrating high, and my energy is doing well, that's when my higher self kind of comes through me almost naturally, almost just connected directly, almost speaking through me in many ways. And that is really the goal, because that is where, in my opinion, that is where we start to really operate from the higher perspective, when we start to really see the oneness as well. When we start to understand that the mirrors around us, that the environment around us is a mirror reflecting to us our internal state, we start to see a lot more. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that I think that people, there's a lot of different techniques on how to do it. And I just wanted to share my practical sort of way that I did it, and then how that sort of starts to build. But it's almost like believing and trusting in the higher self and the higher guidance from source, trusting in the universe and having faith that all is happening for a reason, that brings you into more alignment, and keeping positive about what's occurring in the moment instead of ruminating on the past or projecting and being anxious about the future. These future states they have no bearing on anything. What's important is the moment now, and when you're in that moment of the now, that's when you can really connect in with the higher self. And when you're in the past and the future, you're sort of at a different vibratory rate, and it's much more difficult to tap in. And so I hope that was helpful. It's not too long, 20 minutes. So thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, click that like button. It really helps with the channel. If you want to see anything else that I make, consider subscribing. And I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope you have a wonderful chat with your higher self after this video. Thanks so much.